Shabalala Msimang is recovering from a liver transplant in a Johannesburg hospital tonight. Doctors expect her to make a full recovery. But could this be the end of her life in politics? Those loyal to the minister expect her to make a comeback.
Medical staff say Health Minister Mantu Shabalala Msimang is doing well after a 5-hour liver transplant. Her old liver was damaged, her doctors say, by autoimmune hepatitis, a long-term illness. Autoimmune hepatitis causes the liver to become inflamed. In advanced cases, a liver transplant is often necessary. But these days, the vast majority of transplant patients recover fully and can lead a normal life. But Shabalala Msimang's health problems are piling up. She also has hypertension and in recent months has been treated for anemia and lung problems. It's a situation that has forced Transport Minister Jeff Gedebe to take over her portfolio temporarily. But he should be busy upgrading South Africa's transport system ahead of the 2010 World Cup. Still, those who've long been loyal to Shabalala Msimang believe she will be back to control her department.
Given the minister the kind of person she is, she is the kind of person who is a fighter, who goes on and who soldiers on and is very passionate about what she's doing. So it would be a sad day if she just came to the conclusion herself that she should step down.
But a comeback is looking increasingly unlikely. The controversial health minister has already been politically sidelined. Deputy President Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka has taken over the leadership of the government's AIDS program, injecting a new urgency into it. With the country in the grip of an AIDS pandemic, the role of a health minister will certainly be one of the toughest jobs in the country, no matter who is in charge. Something that may now be beyond the 66-year-old Shabalala Msimang, who will spend a long time recovering from her illness. Ben said, E-News, Johannesburg.
The international community is calling for intensified sanctions against Zimbabwe. The calls follow the attack on the leader of Zimbabwe's opposition, MDC. Morgan Tsvangirai was allegedly assaulted by security forces after a political rally in the capital, Harare.
The attack on Morgan Tsvangirai has galvanized international opinion against Robert Mugabe's government. The US is considering imposing further sanctions against Zimbabwe, including a travel ban and an asset freeze. The UK has echoed the sentiment, urging the European community to take similar measures. Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe remains defiant, warning that anyone who defies his authority will pay a heavy price.
Fidentia boss J. Arthur Brown and his accountant Graham Maddock remain behind bars tonight. They're up on charges of theft and fraud relating to over 200 million rand missing from the coffers of Fidentia. The pair were arrested last week and today their bail application began in Cape Town and is likely to continue for the rest of the week.
The state is opposing bail for J. Arthur Brown and Graham Maddock. Prosecutors argue Brown is a threat to its investigation. They say he put a well-known financial journalist Bruce Cameron under surveillance after he wrote critical articles about Fidentia. The chief investigator claims Brown had the Fidentia office used for FSB investigations bugged, and that over 100 new witnesses, whom he says were scared of Brown, have come forward since his arrest last week. Brown's defense team has slammed these claims as baseless, and the man himself has submitted an affidavit accusing the media of trying and finding him guilty. The Fidentia boss has consistently maintained his innocence.
There is no money missing.
He blames the FSB for his predicament.
Their actions have been irresponsible. We offered the FSB several times in this process the option that we as the shareholders encumber our assets, liquidate the private equity portfolio and pay the investors out.
The state doesn't want Brown's co-accused Graham Maddock out on bail either, much to his family's distress. Prosecutors say he's a flight risk. In his defense, Maddock says he has no offshore accounts and is willing to hand in his passport.
Maddock's defense team argue investigators took a shotgun approach, firing randomly and hoping to make a hit. The bail application is set down for the rest of the week. Rose Ramsey, E-News, Cape Town.
And in news just in, Cape Town Mayor Helen Zille has joined the race for the leadership of the Democratic Alliance. She's the third senior member of the official opposition to throw her hat into the ring. She'll be up against Joe Seremane, the party's federal chairperson, and the DA's Eastern Cape leader, Athol Trollop. The new leader will be elected at the party's National Congress in May. Well, now for a quick look at the day's markets. Police are claiming their biggest breakthrough yet in their struggle with ATM bombers. They reckon they've nabbed the men who've been supplying most of the explosives.
A crime that's been exploding. Literally. There have been nearly 70 of these attacks so far this year. That's more than for the whole of 2006. With each one, there's the growing suspicion that a syndicate's at work, and that the explosives are coming from the mines. Are these two men the key suppliers? Mozambican nationals Carlos Chonga and Lucas Chamos have been charged with the illegal possession of explosives. One of them works on a mine, allegedly with direct access to the explosives. It's this mining area in the West Rand that police suspect has been the source of the commercial explosives used to blow up ATMs. They are now investigating whether the two accused supplied these explosives to a syndicate. Their suspicions based on what they uncovered when the suspects were arrested.
It was quite a lot of explosive. We believe that these suspects have been doing this for a while.
Police won't reveal from which mine the explosives came. It's not the first time they've claimed a breakthrough, though. 2 weeks ago, they arrested 7 people who were in the possession of explosives. Those arrests apparently led investigators to the latest suspects. Chonga and Chamos have been denied bail. Belinda Moses, E-News, Johannesburg.
Last week, Correctional Services was rapped over the knuckles in Parliament over the escape of Ananias Mate. The prison's watchdog committee said not enough had been done to find out how Mate escaped from Pretoria's C-Max prison and signalled that it would reject the Correctional Services report. But now the ANC is using its majority in Parliament to side with the department and steamroll the report through.
Just last week, ANC MP and Prisons Committee Chair Dennis Bloem had some harsh words for the Department of Correctional Services. His committee questioned the official report into Ananias Mate's escape, saying the idea that he'd managed it with no inside help just didn't wash.
There's a lot of unanswered questions, and therefore the committee felt that they must and will reject this report.
But the caucus of Bloem's own party doesn't see it that way. The ANC is siding with Correctional Services, saying it will instruct its members on the committee to vote in favour of adopting the report next week. The DA says this effectively undermines the committee's watchdog role, but the caucus doesn't agree.
It's not a question of anyone whipping anyone into line. It's a question of the ANC representatives coming together, having a discussion, exchanging views.
If the report is adopted, there'll be no further investigation by Correctional Services into how Mate managed to walk out of the country's most secure prison.